A dragon was trying to hide in the storm. Lightning flickered across the dark clouds. Hvitur clutched his fragile cargo closer. If he could make it into the mountains, he would be safe. He'd escaped the Sky Dragon's palace unseen, and the secret cave was so close. But his theft had not been as stealthy as he thought, and eyes as black as obsidian were already tracking him from below. The enormous dragon on the mountain ledge had pale gold scales that radiated heat like a desert horizon. Her black eyes narrowed, watching the gleam of silver wings far up in the clouds. She flicked her tail, and behind her, 2 more dragons rose to the sky and dove into the heart of the storm. A piercing shriek echoed off the mountains as their talons seized the moon-pale ice dragon.
"Bind his mouth,"
the waiting dragon ordered, as her soldiers dropped Hvitur on the slick, wet ledge in front of her. He was already inhaling, ready to attack.
"Quickly!"
One of the soldiers grabbed a chain from the pile of smoldering coals. He threw it around the ice dragon's snout, clamping his jaws together. With the sizzling smell of burning scales, Hvitur let out a muffled scream.
"Too late. You won't be using your freezing death breath on us, ice dragon."
"He was carrying this, Queen Byrne."
Byrne squinted at the egg through the downpour.
"This is not an Icewing egg. You stole this from the Skywing Palace."
The Icewing stared back at her. Hissing steam circled around his snout where the hot chains met cold silver scales.
"You thought you got away unnoticed, didn't you? My Skywing ally is not a fool. Queen Scarlet knows everything that happens in her kingdom. Her lookouts reported an Icewing thief sneaking away, and I decided finding you might add some violence to my boring visit."
Byrne held the large egg up to the light of the fire and turned it slowly. Red and gold shimmered below the pale, smooth surface.
"Yes, this is a Skywing egg about to hatch. Why would my sister send you to steal a Skywing Dragonet? Blaze hates any dragon younger and prettier than she is."
She thought for a moment, as the rain drummed on the ledge around them.
"Unless the brightest night is tomorrow."
Her tail flicked up like a scorpion's, the poisonous barb inches from Hvitur's eyes.
"You're not in Blaze's army, are you? You're one of those insipid underground peacemongers."
The Talons of Peace? You mean they're real?
"Ha! A few worms crying over a little blood. Unwrap his chains. He won't be able to freeze us until his scales cool down."
The enormous sand dragon leaned closer as her soldier pulled the chain away.
"Tell me, Ice Dragon, do you really believe in that pompous old Nightwing's prophecy?"
"Haven't enough dragons died for your war? All of Paria suffered for the last 12 years. The prophecy says..."
"I don't care. No prophecy decides what happens to me. I'm not letting a bunch of words or baby dragons choose when I die or what I bow to. We can have peace when my sisters are dead and I am queen of the Sandwings."
Her venomous tail dipped closer to the silver dragon. Rain pattered on Hvitur's scales. He glared up at her.
"The Dragonets are coming, whether you like it or not, and they'll choose who the next Sandwing Queen should be."
"Really?"
Byrne stepped back and turned the egg slowly between her talons. Her forked tongue slipped in and out of her smile.
"So, Icewing, is this egg a part of your pathetic prophecy?"
Hvitur went still. Byrne tapped lightly on the eggshell with one long talon.
"Hello? Is there a Dragonet of destiny in there? Ready to come out and end this big bad war?"
"Leave it alone."
"Tell me, what becomes of your precious prophecy if one of the 5 Dragonets is never hatched at all?"
"You wouldn't. No one would harm a dragon egg."
His blue eyes were fixed desperately on her talons.
"No wings of sky to help save the world. What a sad, sad story."
She began tossing the egg from one front claw to the other.
"I guess that means you should be very, very careful with this terribly important little Oops.
With an exaggerated lunge, Byrne pretended the wet egg was slipping through her talons, and then she let it fall over the side of the cliff into the rocky darkness below.
No!
He threw off the two soldiers and flung himself towards the edge. Byrne slammed her massive claws down on his neck.
So much for destiny. So much for your tragic little movement.
You're a monster.
Writhing under her talons, his voice cracked with despair.
We'll never give up. The Dragonets will end this war.
Byrne leaned down to hiss into his ear.
Even if they do, it'll be far too late for you.
Her claws whipped through the silver dragon's wings, shredding them as Hvitur shrieked in agony. With a swift movement, she stabbed her poisonous tail through his skull and flung the long silver body over the edge of the cliff. The ice dragon's screams cut off long before the echoes of his corpse slamming into the rocks below. The Sandwing turned her black eyes to her soldiers.
Perfect. That should be the last we hear about that stupid prophecy.
She held out her talons so the rain could wash away the glistening dragon blood.
Let's go find something else to kill.
The three dragons spread their wings and lifted off into the dark clouds. Sometime later, far below, a large dragon, the color of rust, crawled over the rocks to the broken body of the ice dragon. She nudged its tail aside and lifted a shard of the eggshell from underneath it, then slipped back into the labyrinth of the caves under the cliffs. Stone walls brushed against her wings. She breathed out a plume of flame to light her way along the dark passage, deep into the mountain.
I stand with the talons of peace. Kestrel, is that you?
Hissed a voice in the shadows.
We await the wings of fire.
A blue-green sea wing emerged from a side cave, and she tossed the eggshell at his feet.
Not that it'll do us much good now. Hvitur is dead.
But the Skywing egg.
Broken. Gone. It's over, Webs.
It can't be. Tomorrow is the brightest night. The 3 moons will be full for the first time in a century. The Dragonets of the prophecy have to hatch tomorrow.
Well, one of them is already dead. I knew I should have stolen the Skywing egg myself. I know with the Sky Kingdom, they wouldn't have caught me a second time.
Asha's dead too.
Asha?
A spurt of flame shot from Kestrel's nose.
How?
Caught in a battle between Blazes and Blista's forces on the way here. She still made it with the red Mudwing egg, but she died of her wounds soon after.
So it's just you, me, and Dune to raise the little worms. For a prophecy that can never be fulfilled. Let's just break the cursed eggs now and be done with it. We'll be long gone before the talons of peace return for the Dragonets.
No. Keeping the Dragonets alive for the next 8 years is more important than anything. If you don't want to be a part of that...
All right! Enough! I'm the strongest dragon in the talons of peace. You need me. It doesn't matter how I feel about the nasty little Dragonets.
She eyed the eggshell on the floor, rubbing her scarred palms together.
Although, I thought at least one of them would be a Skywing.
I'll find us a 5th Dragonet.
Webs pushed past her, scales scraping against rock.
There's no way back into the Sky Kingdom, brainless. They'll be guarding the hatchery closely now.
Then I'll get an egg somewhere else. The Rainwings don't even count their eggs. I could take one from the rainforest without anyone noticing.
Of all the horrible ideas, Rainwings are wretched creatures, nothing like Skywings.
We have to do something. In 8 years, the Talons of Peace will come looking for the 5 Dragonets. The prophecy says 5. We are going to make it come true, whatever it takes.